All right. This is not some kind of a FBI thing or something. Picking up people coming to them.
Can you see if it's like setting on it, please?
Yes, let's see if you are in there.
Alright.
We don't see your head at all.
Oh, thank you.
Do you see
Or
me?
maybe I need to
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Or maybe can we change that? Oh,
Tilt your camera down a little. Will it tilt down a little
Can
bit
you
so
see?
it's your head? There
Yeah,
you go.
Up.
whoa.
Yeah, but they can. Yes, I agree. Let's get them.
Brilliant, go
I
ahead.
think we got you.
Go ahead, start, brother.
Okay.
What happened to you, sister?
Imagine being 12 years old, playing in the outside with your
Why don't you
family
just
dog.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim before you start? Very good.
Imagine being, please save your questions and comments until after the speech. Imagine being 12 years old, playing outside with your family dog, when suddenly soldiers run past you and into your house. You hear yelling and screaming. Terrified, you run up to the back of your house and look into your window. The image you will see will mark you forever. First, they disgrace your mother in front of your father, and then they kill them both. Now you know what Zionism is. This is what happened to my grandfather in 1948 in Acre, Palestine. Later that day, he and those remaining, mostly the elderly and children, walked to Lebanon with their belongings, never to see home again. I am part of the Palestinian diaspora. Zionist tactics have a history of being disproportionate, violating international law time and time again. We will go over facts about Israel's violent beginnings and facts regarding disproportionate actions and fallacies regarding retaliations yesterday and today. Let's start with the Maylaw incident in 1974 in Lebanon. Israel claimed to retaliate for an attack on 20 members of the paramilitary group called Gadna by bombing Palestinian refugee camps in southern Lebanon with phosphorus and napalm bombs, killing more than 300 civilians. The truth was that Israelis began their bombing for weeks before the Palestinians moved against Gadna, but no one questioned it. The Israel Ministry of Defense underwrites museums commemorating the Stern Gang, a Jewish terrorist group, and the Irgun. The Irgun bombed the British headquarters at the King David Hotel in 1946, leaving 90 dead and 45 wounded, making Israelis the original suicide bombers. Members of the Jewish underground organization Lehi, Fighters for the Freedom of Israel, killed UN peace leader Count Folke Bernadotte. The Fourth Geneva Convention says that an occupying power shall not depart or transfer parts of its own civilian population into the territory it occupies. Despite this, a network of highways, ring roads, walls, and settlements have virtually sealed Palestinians in, cutting them off from any unification possibilities. As far as the UN Declaration of Human Rights goes, Israel has violated virtually every single article and yet has not been held accountable once. The U.S. is usually the sole member nation to back Israel, the face of its transgressions in front of the world. This is bound to create more animosity towards Americans worldwide. Moving towards today's practices. Article 5A of Israel Penal Law, offenses against the state, reads, the courts in Israel are entitled to the laws of Israel to try any person who has committed abroad any action that would have been an offense if it was carried out in Israel, if the action endangered or was intended to endanger the state of Israel, security, property, economy, or transportation, communications, or contacts with other countries. In 1971, Fak Balut, a Turk, not even Palestinian, living in Lebanon, was the first to be kidnapped and brought to Israel for trial for alleged membership in Fatah, Prior to the current status of Palestine in the past few years, the Palestinian flag itself was considered a tool of terror, and possession of it would get you 3 years in prison, whether you lived in Palestine or the USA. From late December through the month of January this year, over 1,300 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli military, the majority civilians, over 400 of them children. During the same period on the Israeli side, only 3 civilians and 7 soldiers were killed. The U.S. was the only country not willing to impose sanctions on Israel. Once again, as in the May Law incident, the justifications were obscured. That aside, what justification could there ever be for such a disproportionate action? They are also bold about it. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert told his cabinet just recently, if there is any shooting at residents of the South, there will be an Israeli response that will be harsh and disproportionate by its nature. Yet we are silent. We need to help put a stop to Israelis' disproportionate responses and regression. Write letters to your representatives in Congress. Learn more about the situation and make others aware. Join any one of the many peace and justice groups. So today we have learned that Israel has a long history of terroristic methods. The current Israeli disproportionate and despicable actions are nothing new. As long as the U.S. backs Israel unconditionally, it'll continue to do what it wants. We are each responsible for our own ignorance and silence. As Muslims, we must stand up for justice. Your silence is your approval. Be part of the change towards a more just world. Be heard.
Very good, very good.
Good job.
Why don't you send it to the newspaper? Your article is a good one. They'll probably